Welcome to the Channel Surfers. I'm John McCabe, and I'm joined as always by my great friend and co-host Jeff Lennon. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, John. I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, it's summer and people are on vacation and doing fun things. And, I think going back to my youth, going to the beach and going to the amusement park or the boardwalk amusement park was always like one of the things we always wanted to do, right? And I
Yep.
think what we're going to do, we're going to do a couple of episodes that are like a parody of channel business, right? We're going to be a little lighthearted and have some fun. And today we want to talk about the ultimate amusement park ride. And that really entails, exploring how building, managing, and growing channel partnerships is like running an amusement park, and it comes complete with all the thrilling rides and unexpected twists and the need for careful planning to keep everything, coming back and functioning. Right. And I know this is something that we've talked about, like, cue
Yeah.
the amusement park music, right? Because that is channel for the most part, right? We're always dealing with the twists and turns and the roller coaster of channel. But today we want to talk about we want to relate it to an amusement park and running an amusement park. So let's get into what your theme is for this episode. What do you want to kind of highlight for the audience here?
Yeah. So, well, first, just taking one of my favorite lines, right? Taking that half step back. So, as we were kind of thinking about some different things, like you said, doing a parody, kind of keeping it lighthearted, just trying to take a different view, a different perspective.
Yeah.
We kind of came up with this. Hey, let's how does managing the channel or your channel, the channel business, kind of align to an amusement park?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
as you kicked in the music, I'm thinking, yeah, sometimes I wish there was a theme song to, manage the channel. Um, but just like, and there's some other really kind of interesting, more scenarios, or I guess you would say analogies, where if you start talking about, you're trying to forecast revenue, trying to work with the, different types of partners. So I thought maybe the first thing would be is kind of, just a little tongue in cheek, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
dealing with some of the different partnerships and dealing with partners and how they align to some of the rides, right? Like, is your partner more like a roller coaster? Is it bumper cars? Is it that, I don't even know if they still have this. They used to call it the hell hole. That's where you would sit, it would spin really fast, and then the floor would drop and you would just be stuck up against the wall. So
Or is it the
sometimes
hall
there's
of mirrors where you can't find your way out? Right.
no, exactly. So, just again, just trying to kind of give it a different perspective. And then what are some of the things you can do, or how can you kind of help to manage through some of those things?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially now, like you said, in the summer, super hot, dealing with, and we just, we talked about it, show season, you've got all these different aspects of how to work with partners. But I just thought it would be interesting to kind of take that alignment, and then how does this kind of come back to, what would it be like, working in an amusement park, right? Because you got the price of admission for some partners, right? There's a ticket price, right? You got to worry about that. Sometimes you got to worry about, hey, where do you want to do? Like, I know when we took our kids one time to, I think it was Disney. Yeah, it was Disney World. Well, we were at Epcot, a couple of them, but there's this whole strategery, right? I love that word. Of which rides you need to get to, right? So that you can have the best experience, so to speak. So anyway, I just thought it would be good to kind of talk about, how does this work? How does it kind of align? Who's who in the zoo, so to speak. And then just, do some partners have what was the thing at Disney they had all the time? The fast
Speed
pass,
pass. Speed pass. Yeah.
right? So, sometimes if you do the right things, you pay the price of admission, but you still have to buy that speed pass, get you to the front of the line. We've talked about that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, that's anyway. So I wanted to we can kind of throw it back and forth a little bit, but for me, that was kind of the big thing, right? Was just how do some of because I've worked with a handful of partners, and it was very much like one of those old wooden roller coasters. Um, where it's exciting, you're kind of holding on. But the funniest thing about riding a wooden roller coaster is, for whatever reason, when you got off, your brain was still shaking. Because of
Oh yeah. Yeah. That is so true. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great lead in. I mean, you're kind of talking about, coming into the park. Welcome to the park. What is the perfect analogy for, an amusement park, relating to channel success? And I think it might be a mix of what you're talking about, like great rides, great entertainment, great food, but with channel, you want great partners. You want uh, enablement and activity, and you want to be able to be successful, right? So
Yeah.
relate that to like what we're talking about here.
Well, we just talked about in an episode. I don't know if it's aired yet, but maybe losing track here, which is a good thing. But choosing the right partner. So
Yeah.
when you go like in the amusement park, when you go in, right, you got to choose the right rides. Like what do you want to do? What is the ride that's going to give you the most thrills? What are you looking for? Is it an excitement you're looking for? Is it looking to have the bejesus scared out of you? Um, but kind of choosing that right ride is very similar to choosing the right partner, right?
Hmm.
And trying to figure that out. And it's funny when you talk about that. There's another aspect, which is the age or maturity of certain businesses. Just
Hmm.
like you have certain rides, right? There's a height requirement for whatever, or an age requirement. It's very similar when you're trying to choose that right partner. Which one is going to be the right fit? Which are you looking for something that's going to go fast and furious? Hey, again, just a lot of people might say, hey, I just want to go in and jump. I'm going right to the roller coaster, right? I just want to go do that ride. It's going to be a lot of up and downs. It's exciting, but it's worth the thrill. And at the end, you get this big reward. The challenge with that is if it's a really good coaster, as an example, you're going to stand in line for a long
Hmm.
time, right?
You know,
Unless you have that.
I kind of remember back to when my kids were young. We used to go to Busch Gardens down in Virginia. Like, I did a couple summers in a row because my kids loved it. And I remember like we did water park and Busch Gardens pass, and we'd go to the water park in the morning and the music park in the afternoon. But one thing I remember, and this is true for partnerships, right? The
Yep.
rides they
Yep.
liked the most, we would get off and get back on the line, right, and do it again. And in partnerships, it's so similar. There, I have a partner who is reliable. They answer phone calls, and we do deals and we close business, right? And they're the ride I want to keep going on, right? But then there are
Yeah.
rides you don't really like too much. They're overhyped, and maybe they're not as exciting. And those are the partners you're not going to go talk to that often, right? So I think Go ahead. I'm
Good
sorry.
point. No, I was just saying that's a good point. That's
Yeah.
well, look, like I said, it's kind of it's a fun topic, right? And to your point, right? It comes back to you got to get the map, right? So what is the layout of the amusement
Hmm.
park, right? How
Yeah. Yeah.
and some people, no, you got to know where you're going, right? So you go and you want to choose that ride, and I think for whatever reason, typically where do they put those really fun rides? Like the roller coaster or some of the other ones, all the way at the back. Like you
Yeah.
literally have to walk through everything to get there. You have to go through what I call Carney Alley, right, which is all the games and everything. But we'll get to that. Um, but yeah, so having kind of a map, right? So first of all, choosing where you want to go, how you want to get there, having that map of what you want to, where you want to go when you're in the park, as is a good
Mm,
example,
yeah.
instead of
Great.
just
Great.
wandering aimlessly, right?
Yep. And that's usually at the beginning of the park, and you could trace your steps, right? Just like a channel program. It's at the beginning of every relationship. You set the channel program. It's your map to how you're going to work, how you're going to be successful, right? And you need to. You and I have talked about this. I don't know how many times on different pods that we've done. Being having a plan, right? It's like going to an amusement park. You want to have a plan. All right, kids, we're going to go here, 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 and here. Then we're going to meet for lunch. We'll go to get burgers here, and then we're going to go back. And we're going to go on the roller coaster. Hopefully, we don't throw up after lunch. But you have your plan, right? And that is so true with how building a program. You need to have that strategic map for your channel partnerships. You can't just go in and expect, hey, we sign paper, deals should be coming to us. I was talking to a friend yesterday. He was saying his sales rep, like, hey, I gave 2 deals to a partner. I'm
Yeah.
getting nothing in return. And what's going on? And like, well, is it in your channel program? Is it mapped out that you expect if we give you 2 deals, we get a deal back or 2 deals back? Is that the expectation? Because if
Reciprocation.
it isn't, no one's going to be doing it, right? So I think the map analogy is perfect because
Oh,
God.
no, man. Finish your thought. Like that's
I
fine. Like I'm just laughing. I'm like, well, no, you're right. I was gonna. I gotta figure. I
I
stopped
don't
that. I
like
gotta
not
lean
knowing
back a lot.
what I'm doing or where I'm going, right? And I think that's
Yeah,
that's true for everything we're talking about here. Going to amusement park, knowing
yeah.
where you're going, creating a channel program, and knowing how you're going to maneuver and get to success.
Well, it's just because you got in the park, right? It doesn't mean you're successful yet, right? So to your
Yeah.
point, having that map, right? Where's the funnel? I when I was thinking about this, I didn't want to be too cheesy or corny, right? But it's like, as you're trying to figure your way through all this, right, and figure your way through the whole sales enablement or figure your way through the park, right? You got to make your way. You got to be careful because you're going to make your way to what I guess just playing around like that the customer complaint log flume, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get all wet, right? That's the one where it's like, oh, you want to go there. And it's not so much that you get wet on it. It's usually when you're crossing the bridge afterwards. But,
Mhm. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, I do think I do think it's important. And it also brings into, the training piece, right?
Mhm.
Um, you've got oh God, my mind is racing here, man. You've got the QBR haunted house, right?
Oh,
So,
for sure.
um, wow, this is going to go off the rails. But so I'll kind of bring it back. My mind just went off on a tangent here. Sorry. Um, so let me go back. Because I did kind of try to take some notes here, so I would stay on track. Because the more I kept thinking about this, I'm like, this is kind of a goofy subject, but I think that's important. Having a plan, having the map, and then each of these different rides could turn into, like I said, you've got the haunted house of QBRs, right? You've got training mountain, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But as you go through that, right, be prepared for the ups and downs. And I think the roller coaster is probably the biggest metaphor, but there's a handful of other rides
Mhm.
that kind of roll into that, right? And also being careful. Like I always found it interesting. In fact, it was funny as we were talking about this. There was a story. I guess I don't know exactly where it was. I think it might have been in Ohio. There was some amusement park, and I guess the ride got stuck, and people were hung upside down for like
Oh,
45.
yeah. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that was
So,
in Cincinnati. I forget the name of the amusement park there.
well, and the timing is apropos, right? So that's typically your Q3, unless you're in
Mhm.
Fed, you're going to be hung upside down on one of the rides for, a little period
Yeah.
of time
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
people
Well,
get back in September.
how about the House of Mirrors or the pirate ship ride relating to like partnerships that kind of go nowhere, right? They maybe they engage you as a vendor, say, hey, we want to sell you guys, but then nothing happens. No matter what, how you try, you're just looking in the mirror and like, where am I going? Where am I going? Or the pirate ship, you're like up and you could see them over there, but you can't touch them. And then they come back and they're like, I can see you, but it's never going anywhere, and you're wasting time. And I think we've talked about this many times. You don't want those partners. You want to focus on the partners that are going to be like, the roller coaster. They're exciting and they get you action, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not doing this. I'm going to piss off a lot of people, John. I know this, probably all 67 people that listen to this. Um, but, you know, it's a small world. I'm just saying, probably one of the most used like that. That is the epitome of you've got a partnership and you're just going through and pointing at things, but nothing's really happening. I mean, it's just like, hey, look at all the nice things. Here's the
Yeah.
history. Here's where we're going. And you get off and you're like, I didn't get and I know a lot of people like, oh no, it's really good. I don't get it.
Mm.
I just
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, there's probably some more other, like you said, the House of Mirrors, where you think you're working with somebody just to find out that or the House of Glass, where you're kind of stuck in a corner and you can't figure out how to get the hell out.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so all those kind of funny analogies aside, it is interesting because, like I said, it comes back to, the map, have a plan, picking, which partners you want to work with and why, and really, keeping it fresh, right?
Mhm.
keeping
Yeah.
it fresh. Try to avoid, to your point, the stale rides or the stale, and knowing when, if that ride is, or if that partner is not going to work out for you. Um, I know some people are going to look at this and go, I didn't really get the whole gist of this. I didn't get the gist of this. And I guess for me, it's just understanding that you could take a lot of different things in life, and I think the amusement park really fits a lot of partnerships. I was
Mm-hmm.
just watching, actually, really, really super sharp girl that I met through partnership leaders, and she had just posted where she basically had to tell a partner no.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have sworn I saw her do it before, and I was like, wow, like I felt like it was a deja vu moment. But very, very similar to the park. It's just kind of like, especially if you're going there with people, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't go to the park typically by yourself. That'd be weird.
Mm-mm. No,
Although you
that
could.
would be
I
weird.
mean, I guess you could, right? I mean, I know Dan's probably listening now, so he likes to go alone. No, I'm just kidding. Um, no, but seriously, right? You're going to usually go with a group, right? Because you're going with a group of people, and then figure out how do you navigate that and how do you make that happen. Just like in channel, right? You're driving it. Hey, we're going to go do this, and everybody's getting on the ride. We're going to do these things. Here's what it's going to work out to be. Why? Because you don't have an endless amount of time. Number one. Number two, you want to make sure that you get to the rides that you want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, you're it's to your point, like you gotta, especially when you have kids, right? You're planning when are you going to stop and have lunch, and when are you going to do this, and just kind of making sure that those things
Mm-hmm.
are there. I mean, I guess if I had to take two steps back, it is very, very similar. And, it's almost like we could do one about taking a road trip, right? Very similar analogy.
Sure.
Having a plan. Where are you going? It's not just about it's the destination, but the journey is also just as important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just and making sure that you're enjoying the ride, so to speak, right? Um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of my first thought. I know you mentioned you might have some, you were like throwing out some questions when we were talking about this just before we jumped on.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, kind of switch gears a little bit. Like, and I think this probably is a topic we can make some good comments about. But what about the midway games, like motivation and reward? I mean, you go to an amusement park and they have like the game where you shoot the water into the hole and you get blow the balloon up and explode it, and you get a teddy bear, right? Or you throw the rings on the bottles, or like, for me, I was never really great at those games. I maybe I won occasionally, but I was never really great at them. But if I was going to an amusement park, I'd bring somebody that was really good at that so I could win some prizes. And I think if you want to win in channel, you want to go with a partner that's going to, win those games and get you the deal so you can close business, right? So talk about what you feel on, incentivizing partners like and gamifying a partnership.
So, first of all, I love the analogy, right? The one thing that I will always say is, don't give up that stuffed animal, that stuffed bear, or whatever it is, or I'm gonna, because I have a funny story, or that stuffed lion,
Hmm.
um, until the partner's actually earned it, right?
Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
many times people want to give away the prizes before they've actually performed the task or have actually done something to get there. But yeah, I do think that the whole midway, so to speak, right? Or I used to call it Carney Alley.
Hmm.
Pardon
Hmm.
me. I had a really good friend who he came up with the name. We called it Carney Alley because they had carny food, which is a whole nother show we could do around carny food, and the
That's a
carny
state
characters.
fair
But
show.
anyway,
That's the state fairs.
but no, I mean, I think making sure that having a leaderboard, setting
Mm-hmm.
goals, setting expectations, right? Just don't give away that stuffed animal or that prize until you've actually achieved your goal, right? And the whole point is making sure that you have set up the specific parameters that, hey, this is what you can do to win. Funny story. We took our kids and some other kids and my niece to Hershey Park one year,
Mm.
and it's funny you say that. So I'm not saying I'm great at these games, but I'm okay. So anyway, long story short, we were kind of wrapping up. It was in the afternoon, and we're hanging out by some of the games, and they have the game where you got to throw a softball, put it in that milk jug,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And they have these huge cats hanging from the rafters. and it was, I think, $10 for 3 softballs. And I went up and I threw the first one and it hit the rim. And as soon as it hit, I went, oh, okay. And I just did what I did. I put a little backspin on it, went right in the hole. And the guy looked at me and he's like, oh my God, like, boom. So my son points, boom, we pulled out. Dude, when I tell you, like, he had this lion, and if he listens to this, he's going to get mad at me. But anyway, he had it draped around his shoulders, right? So he had back paws, front paws. So my niece, she comes up, she's like, I want one.
No.
So, okay, fine. She gives me $10. It's like, actually, I think maybe she gave me 20, but I was like, all right, get 3 balls. Because as soon as you win, they take your ball. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So we walk back up, get the $20, first ball. And the guy just looked at me and he goes, you're done.
Yeah, but that's what you want from like partnership, right? You want to be you want Jeff Lennon as a partner who can thread the needle and hit that target, right? That's a great analogy of partnerships. You want to be involved with those types of partners that can win, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or one of my favorites was the throwing the football through the tire. I was never a quarterback in high school.
Me either.
But I actually and again, this will give away where I'm from, but I have a Phillies jersey. I've got a Flyers jersey. And then my nephew, who happened to be this is a whole nother time down in the shore. He ended up getting an Eagles jersey, and then they banned me. So, and I'm not saying they banned me to the point where people are going to be like, oh God, Jeff's gloating, that they had a picture of me on the side saying, don't let this guy play the game. It wasn't that bad. But to your point, it's all about just execution, and I had a really good friend who was good at basketball, and he could hit that basketball thing like every time it blew. And it's all about knowing what you're good at and being able to execute. So to your point, choosing that midway game, or choosing that partner or that incentive that is going to work, and then executing on it. I think that's really the takeaway from that, right? Is just, if you can figure out, and I know we talked about this on another episode, which is, what are some of the incentives that you can provide that allow for active engagement, and that continual communication. We talked about, and I tell everybody, communication, execution, right?
Yeah.
Because communication is a two-way street, right? I just heard this great quote last week. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. And I think it's a big problem with a lot of people, where they're listening to respond, to whatever's being said, instead of listening to understand and asking a lot more questions.
Happy ears too. They listen to what they want to listen to. They don't take the time to listen to what is needed. That's a sales failure for channel and sales reps. They tend to not listen. But yeah, those are good points about the games and incentivizing. But what about, like, let's talk about the control room, clear communication and a safety net, because every amusement park has an operation that is watching over the park and making sure people are where they should be and not doing the things they shouldn't be doing. And they have people in the park with walkie-talkies and understanding. And like, I really see that as, trying to keep the park safe, but also, really setting parameters and the rules of engagement, so to speak. Like channel partnerships, you don't want a channel partner. If you bring them a deal, you don't want them going to your competitors and including them in this, in the preview. That's not the way it works. That's bad behavior. They should be escorted out of the park when they do shit like that. So what do you think of that? Like the control room aspect of it?
So, well, first of all, the control room is really important. Why? You just nailed it, right? With the walkie-talkie thing, it comes back to my previous point. It's about communication, right? If you're not communicating on a consistent basis with your partner, right, and understanding where they are, what their goals are, and what they're doing, there's a good chance that you're running without a brake man, so to speak, on the roller coaster, and that train will come off. That roller coaster, that roller train, whatever. Boy, that sounded funny. It will come off the tracks. at some point, and you're going to have partners yelling at you like, you never told me about the MDF process. You didn't, nobody told me I had to do a registration and
Oh my God.
like it's right. I'm just,
Are you, did you sleepwalk through your first part of the sales, sales training or sales life? I mean, deal reg is the way it is. That's a
well,
flag in the ground. That's the most important thing.
but part of the challenge is right, and it, again, it comes back like at a park, you have a lot of safety, but you just talked about the control room and having a brake man. And you know, having that constant communication, because you're going to go out and you're going to do all this great stuff. You're going to kick off a partner, John, and you're going to train everybody, and everybody's going
Yeah.
to walk away, whistling Dixie, rainbows and unicorns. And it could take 4, 5, 6 months to the point where you've actually not just have leads, right? Like not top of
Hmm.
funnel, not referral, but you've actually got a deal that's going through process where like we've actually got something that's meaningful. Maybe it's 3 months. It's still a period of time where they're not going to always remember what they were just shown about. Here's the process for the referral, here's the process for the registration, here's the like, and walking them through those different processes to make sure. And again, this is my opinion, this is where a channel manager, this is a big part of their job. It is
It is
about
their job for sure.
whole,
They're the amusement park operator. They're
but
the
they've got
ones
to
that
hold
have.
their hand. They've either got to hold their
Yeah.
hand, John, or they've actually got to do it. Like I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure you did. Like in the beginning, like you do the register. Like I'll do this registration process for you. And then I'll show you what I'm doing, and this is how you got to do it. Like you've got to log in here, but I'll help you do this. And the whole point is, let's get to a point where there's repeatability. Because if
Hmm.
there's repeatability, then there's going to be better memory. With better memories, that muscle memory kind of thing. Where next thing you know, man, it's just happening because they see
Yep.
the reward and the benefit of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's as a channel manager, you own the relationship. You the resource. You're the safety officer, right? To make sure things are going right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring or to take away from that is, you can't have an amusement park without someone who's controlling it or running the operation. Same thing with the channel. You can't have a channel manager or a channel program with no channel manager, no one to police it, right, or to take care of it. And I think we've talked
Correct.
about this. I think there are channel managers that really they think their job is, the chug and hug, lunch and bar happy hours, and it really isn't. Yeah, it's there's desk work
I know.
involved and paperwork, and you're not you're doing half the job. I agree with the relationship building, but you gotta have the paperwork done. So like if you're running an amusement park, you're not always out at the front gate saying hi to everybody and ignoring all the other stuff. Like the plumbing, there's a toilet that burst in section Z of the park. It'll take care of itself. You don't do that. You take care of everything. You're the guy in control or the gal in control. You take care of everything because that's your job, right? So, all
Well, like
right. Well,
you got to keep that PA, you got to keep that public or real quick. I know we're coming up. What are we about 27, 28?
yeah,
But
20 minutes.
but you got to keep the public access, that public address system on, right?
Yeah,
Because you don't want
yeah,
to have dead air, right? We
no,
talked about that. It's about communication, having a newsletter, doing quarterly checkups, monthly checkups, those types of things. Um, but yeah, so to your point, I'll just kind of I didn't mean I just need to throw that in there as you were talking
yeah,
because
yeah.
that is to me part of the communication thing, especially whether you're in the channel or amusement park. Um, but it's for me, and I know this is for you. Look, I've always had a lot of fun being in the channel, right? And
Yeah, me
and
too.
running the channel like going to the amusement park is fun, and if you're doing it right, you can have a lot of fun. If you're doing it wrong and people are screaming or people are throwing up over the side of the roller coaster, you planned inappropriately. Probably not the
Yeah.
best way to end that analogy, but I don't know.
No, it's true. It goes back to early discussions about having a plan and executing on a plan. You can't open an amusement park without a plan and operations people to run it and people to be on the rides and all the things that go on in a business. Channels the same thing.
Well, you got that.
If you're out there and you're a small bit, a startup founder owner, and you're listening to this, don't skimp on the channel. Like, put some effort and money behind it, and it will return a lot to you. And I see that with a few of the founders that I work with. They get it, they understand it, and they want to promote it, right? And
Yeah.
you'll see that it reaps the rewards that are needed. You can't just say we're channel friendly and have nobody there that's going to be opening the park and turning on the rides. It doesn't work. You can't have your sales reps just do everything. They've got a specific job of focusing on bringing in business, closing business, right? Not just managing
Amen.
partners, right? So,
Amen.
all right. So
Well,
we're
I'll
up
leave
on
you with
time.
my favorite. I was going to say, I'm going to leave you with my favorite three, John,
Okay,
and
good.
then you can wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it fresh, keep it honest, and above all, never trust a partner who claims they like waiting in a line. From an amusement park perspective.
I love
Well,
that.
because it's like if you again, just keeping it fresh and honest is one thing, but when people say, "Oh no, we're good with waiting," no, like you want people to hit the ground, and you want to hit the ground running, and you want everybody to be successful, and you want there to be continuity. So
I want
anyway,
people
I
to
just figured I would end with that.
I want impatient people who want to close deals, not wait on deals. I want the revenue, right? So,
All right, so take three.
So that was our first stab at a lighthearted topic, associating channel business to an amusement park. And I think some of the key
Second.
takeaways we talked about today, onboarding is your park map, showing the partners where to go and what rides to take and how to be successful, and plan your day out and have a good time, right? Engagement is the roller coaster. Keep the thrills coming. Don't forget the safety harness, though. You gotta engage them and enable them. Make sure they know the rules and don't go outside the rules, because then you get thrown from the roller coaster, right? Motivation programs are like cotton candy. Who doesn't like cotton candy? It's sweet and tasty, and it's a reason you want to go back and get more, right? And that's partner deals, right? Vendor deals, partner deals. That's the cotton candy, right? And then lastly, communication is your ride operator. I love this one. You can't run a park without having people who can run the machines and the operations. Same thing, and we just finished talking about that. Same thing with channel. You need someone who's going to be able to run the operation for you, be the front line, be the one who's out there promoting and preaching the good word of your product to the partners, and being able to coordinate with them to get the deals done. And if you're listening to this and you're just new to the channel, take that 1 point away for your ability to be successful. You have to be involved in everything. You have to know every aspect of your channel partner's executive team, their sales team, know your product, know how to promote your product, know how to maneuver and get deals through the pipeline.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. So, well, look, this was good, right? And like you can run your channel, right? Like a amusement park themed kind of ride, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, have some rigors around it, have a plan around it. You're at one end you've got a wild roller coaster with no brake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody's screaming and, like you said, could go off the rails, or you've got this precision never ending carousel, which is just hitting every time, right? So
Yep. Love it.
good stuff, man.
All right. Well, until our next show, Jeff, thanks again for joining and hosting with me. Everyone who's listening, you could find us on pretty much every podcasting service, Apple, Amazon, Overcast, Spotify. So you can reach us that way. You can click on our episodes through our LinkedIn page, the Channel Surfers, where we post our new updated releases every Tuesday. And we also have a website, channelsurfers.com. If you want to email us and give us your opinions or talk to us about a show topic, I'm John at channelsurfers.com, and Jeff is Jeff at channelsurfers.com. So until our next episode, we hope you all have a good summer vacation. And please go to an amusement park and take in the rides and have fun. But think about what your job is when you get back and relate it to this amusement park ride. So,
Oh, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Talk to you soon again, Jeff.
Awesome,
Cheers.
man. Thanks, John. Have a great day, man.
Cheers.